can we move on and talk about the photograph on the front page of The Guardian? I'm sure you will have seen it. It's the Prime Minister attending a gathering in the Downing Street garden. There's wine there, there's cheese. This is reportedly from May 2020, when the rest of the country were forbidden from gathering outside in groups of more than 2 households. We've been told previously that if there was any event, it was a work meeting. Carrie Johnson is there. So how is that a work meeting?
Well, first of all, you're right to point to the rules as they apply to social mixing. But of course, Downing Street used that garden as a place of work. They used it for work meetings. The photo is from a day when I think the Prime Minister had just done a press conference. And sometimes they'll have a drink after a long day or a long week. And that's not against the regulations. And just specifically on Carrie, I mean, of course, it is not just a place of work for all the staff that work in Number 10 and the Prime Minister, but it is also the residents of the Prime Minister and his very young family. I genuinely don't think it gets classified as a party, because Carrie popped down and spent a little bit of time there with her husband.
Okay, I understand what you are saying, and there are many people who will feel that that this is not the worst example of the various parties that we have heard were going on. But
With respect, can I just say, I don't think
of
I
course,
look at the photo. I don't think it. I don't think it looks
a
like.
gathering
When I looked at
then.
it, well, okay, but a gathering could be a gathering for work, which is what it was. And I don't think it was a party. And I don't think anything that you see in that photo is
But there are
against the
bottles. There are
regulations.
bottles. No, of course not. But it's how it looks, really, isn't it? Which is my next
Well,
point, which I'm going on to. There are bottles of wine. There's a cheese board there. It feels like we're splitting hairs here, but it doesn't look like a work meeting that many people would have.
I disagree, and I think a lot of people, particularly those, I mean, during various points in this pandemic, lots of people working from home. The people that have come in have been working, and particularly in Number 10, may I say, and particularly the civil servants, working under incredibly difficult conditions. They were working very hard, and the idea that they can't have a drink, I think is wrong, and I don't think, particularly after the hours that they're putting in, there's anything there that contravenes the regulations. But of course, all of these things, the wider question that you raise is going to be decided by Sue Gray.
Of course. Now, can I just want to, just finally on that point, there are many people who are comparing and contrasting that photograph to what was going on in their life at the time. Let me just read a tweet from Louise Dillon. I'm sorry to keep going on about this, but this was the day after my son's funeral. 10 people were allowed at a graveside burial. The church was closed, and no one was allowed to come into our house or garden for so much as a slice of cake. Now, that's obviously an incredibly sad story of one individual's life, and you will say, well, there is a difference here because this is a work meeting, and a funeral is not. It has nothing to do with employment. However, do you understand the contrast between the two experiences and how people find that hard to swallow?
Well, first of all, anyone who's lost a child during this terrible pandemic, my heart goes out to them. Of course it does. I say that as a parent myself. The point I'd make is the rules that you're referring to were all the social mixing rules. This was not a social gathering. It is palpably not a social gathering, because you had people in work suits following meetings that they were having at work. And let's also remember, Number 10 was a place, the hub, where they were running the crisis response. So I understand, and from a human point of view, I've got a well of empathy for anyone that's lost someone during this terrible pandemic. I just don't think, in terms of applying the rules, you are comparing like for like.
Okay. Have you any idea where that photo was taken from?
No.
It looks like it was taken from 11 Downing Street, which I suppose is interesting. And any idea why anyone would have sat on that photo for so long before releasing it now?
No idea. I can't answer to that.
Okay. How much do you worry, Dominic Raab, about the drip effect of all these gatherings and or parties on people's willingness to follow any new restrictions should they come in?
Well, I think there is a general stamina issue with the restrictions that, of course, none of us want to be imposing. But we are in a global historic pandemic. We're coming through it. I'm absolutely confident we will defeat Omicron, just as we've defeated or got a grip on the other variants. But I think ultimately people understand that the decisions that have been made are to protect people. I think the Prime Minister got the fundamental call on the vaccine, for the fastest vaccine rollout in Europe right. I think the booster program is critically important. And the truth is, the more people take the booster, get the booster, and we've accelerated at an unprecedented rate. As I said, we've had nearly 4 million boosted in the last week alone, the more we can avoid that. So I would just encourage everyone to get the booster, particularly as we close in on Christmas.